Botswana historically has not really been known as a track and field powerhouse or for really cultivating and producing world-class sprint talent. But over the past 10 to 15 years or so, they have really built up a strong contingent of athletes on the global stage, names like Isaac Makwala and Amato Macho. But they are now passing the baton onto a new generation of athletes such as Letsile Tebogo and Bayapo Ndori. Because of this, 2023 was the first time a World Continental Tour Gold meeting was held in the country, which is actually just the second time it was held in a Sub-Saharan African nation as well, after the Cape Kano Classic was added in 2020. Now, we saw a plethora of top performances that went down at this meet in Botswana. Kayla White upsetting Sha'Carri Richardson in the 200, Marquise Dendy jumping 8.34 meters in the long jump, Fernand Omanyala winning the 100 meters in a windy 9.78, and TT Terry showing her consistency with a win in the 100-meter dash. But there are two athletes I specifically want to highlight today: Zambia's Muzala Samukonga in the 400 meters and Botswana's Letsile Tebogo in the 200-meter dash. Both of them arguably exceeded expectations at this meet, and their performances had really big implications in each of their respective events this year. So let's jump right into it. First off, Letsile Tebogo. Now, most in the track and field world are probably very familiar with Tebogo. If not for his fast times last year at a very young age, then definitely for his showboating and celebrations after, or really even during some of his races. Very much in the same image of what Usain Bolt of course used to do back in the day. But here in Botswana, Tebogo contested both the 100 and the 200 meters, likely to put on a show for his own country. And as I noted earlier, I'm not exactly sure if anyone else really expected these results that he put down. First off, Tebogo ran a wind-aided 9.91 in the 100-meter dash for second place, finishing just behind Fernand Omanyala's 9.78. With a wind of plus 2.3 meters per second, that's barely over the allowable limit and really an impressive performance for both of these guys. But Tebogo was easing up just slightly here, possibly knowing that he had the 200 meters coming up later on. And this is where he really showed up. Running against a very high quality field, Tebogo took the 200-meter win in 19.87 seconds into a negative 0.3 headwind. A personal best and world lead is the perfect way to give your home country's crowd a show, and that's what Tebogo did here. Now, on the surface, this is a huge performance, right? Like I noted, personal best, world lead, and the field he competed against was very high quality. Andre de Grasse, Aaron Brown, Joseph Fambule, right? Among a couple other guys. But if we really break down Tebogo, even in just the short term, we can see that this performance was very much on par for what we should have actually expected. His previous personal best was 19.96 seconds from the World U20 Championships in Cali, Colombia last year, where he finished second place in that 200. Additionally, that was with a wind of negative 1 meters per second into a headwind, so he was very much on pace for something faster this year. But even more recently, remember that 300 meters that Tebogo ran earlier in the year, where he ran 31.52 seconds, slowing down and celebrating before he even got to the line? That 31.52 was one of the fastest 300-meter times in history. So again, he showed that he was more than capable of running a fast 200-meter dash. And really, it was just a matter of time. And this weekend was that time. Now, it's only the end of April, so of course, there's a lot more time for him to continue to make progress. But with these past few performances, Tebogo is really showing that either he is a strong 100, 200-meter sprint threat, or maybe he might be even better at just the 200 meters. Again, I really look at what he did in that 300 meters, and then of course this 200. He is only 20 years old, so of course he still has years to improve. But if he's already running 19.8 seconds in the 200, that gets him very much closer to a medal contention than I personally think that 9.9 in the 100 meters does. Yes, both events are very, very deep, but when looking at the level of improvement really necessary to compete with the best, I think he has a smaller gap to close in the 200 than he does in the 100 meters. It kind of does sound crazy, but I think improving from 9.9 to 9.7 is much tougher than going from 19.8 to 19.6. Yes, Lyles, Knighton, right? They've run super fast, as well as guys like Benerick and DeGrasse and others. But Tebogo has time to improve and get into that mix in the conversation for at least making the podium, if not this year, then definitely next year. This may sound a little crazy again, but if Tebogo won double gold in Paris at the Olympics next year, I honestly would not be surprised. Next up, Muzala Samukonga of Zambia. I actually personally thought this was the biggest story of the meet coming out of Botswana. Samukonga was running against names like Karani James, Isaac Makwala, Bayapung Ndori, and a few others in the 400-meter dash. This turned out to be a huge shock as he ran 43.91 seconds for first place and a massive personal best. Now, though Samukonga is still a rising star and had a huge breakout last year, I'm not sure many could have really predicted he would have run this fast right now in the year. Some may not be familiar with him, but he is the 2022 Commonwealth Games champion in the 400, where he ran 44.66 seconds for gold. That was his personal best, so he cuts almost a full second off of that to get this personal best here in Botswana. He also made it to the 400-meter semifinals at the World Championships last year in Oregon. This sub-44 second performance moves him to number 17 all time, slotting in just behind the legendary Steve Lewis and his Olympic gold in 1988. Kind of side note, it's kind of crazy to think that just about 10 years ago, the 400 meters was historically dominated by the United States. Now, we have athletes from all around the world, specifically African and Caribbean athletes, they're really making their presence known. I honestly think that's super crazy. Check out a video I actually did a couple years back kind of highlighting all that progression in the men's 400. But again, Samukonga beat out a very high quality field. You're talking about Karani James and Isaac Makwala who finished behind him. More importantly though, this shoots him into the conversation for a medal at the World Championships this year. Yes, I know this is a one-off race, it's still in April, but Samukonga is already developing to the pedigree to be in that conversation. When he won the Commonwealth gold medal last year, he actually beat out the World Championship bronze medalist Matthew Hudson-Smith along the way. Add to that, he now just beat the world silver medalist Karani James. He is quickly building that resume. Now, of course, this is early season, so beating Karani James, a known championship performer, won't really mean too much right now. But there is no way that, again, he is not in that conversation for a 400-meter medal now. Additionally, look at the 400-meter field right now. The world champion Michael Norman may not even run the event depending on how things go in the 100 meters and the 200 meters this year, right? And then you have Wade Van Niekerk. He's making his return, he's looking good, so he's of course making progress there. Karani James is always in the mix, Matthew Hudson-Smith, champion Allison, there's a bunch of other guys as well. Samukonga is very much in that conversation and in that bunch of guys. But if anything, I'm also looking forward to see if he can actually improve on this time. That personal best was a huge drop, but once you run 43 seconds in the 400, especially at a very young age, that starts a conversation on if you can do it again. Now, I don't expect Samukonga to start running consistent sub 44s all of a sudden. I actually may not even expect him to run sub 44 again this year, right? But it will be interesting to see if he turns into Karani James and Wade Van Niekerk type, right? Who are consistently running sub 44 seconds, or right, a Rasheem McDonald from Jamaica, right? Who runs it once and then unfortunately never again. But despite all that from both of these guys, I still have to question, will Samukonga or Tebogo win medals at the World Championships later on this year? And is Tebogo actually a better 200-meter runner than a 100-meter runner? That's for you to let me know. Thanks for watching.